how then does Bhagat Singh's connect in kind of the more global conversations surrounding religion, philosophy, and anti-colonialism, especially post-World War One, which obviously has a huge influence on everything?
Another way of reading Bhagat Singh would be is that he is a phenomenally clear synthesizer of the 1920s, of the post-World War One internationalist moment, a phrase that Ali Raza used. And so what you see him doing in the Jail Notebook and his pamphlets and his manifestos and his writings and his articles is really trying to capture this global conversation around anarchism, socialism, communism, revolution, atheism, secularism, and he's able to sort of synthesize it in a surprisingly clear way in a 3-page essay for a newspaper. And so what you see in Bhagat Singh's writings, even kind of the really early ones when he began writing, is someone who is very well aware of the wide range of political philosophy that's being that after World War One. There seems to be this wild proliferation of pessimistic utopian political philosophy. Bhagat Singh is someone who seems to have read all of it and is really kind of thinking it very seriously. So you see traces of French revolutionary thought, you see traces of Lenin and of Trotsky and the Bolsheviks. You see writings from Thomas Paine on the American Revolution. You see Uncle Tom's Cabin. All of these things. So this kind of incredibly wide range of views that Bhagat Singh is able to synthesize as revolutionary. In 2023, it's kind of difficult to read Uncle Tom's Cabin or even some Thomas Paine or even Robespierre. These are difficult thinkers to make revolutionary again. But in Bhagat Singh's mind, they were very much able to be revolutionized in the service of an anti-colonial mission. And so in some ways, I guess the parallel would be, if Bhagat Singh is able to take, a sort of someone like Herbert Spencer. Bhagat Singh is able to take Herbert Spencer, who seems to be an impossibly British liberal, imperial straight white man. If Bhagat Singh is able to take Herbert Spencer and render him an anti-colonialist in that moment, right, then he is someone who is aware that afterlives are very much up for grabs. It's not surprising that his own afterlife is very much up for grabs. But he's someone who really shows you the kind of, he synthesizes or brings together, or at least kind of takes note of this wide range of political thought that becomes available around the world after World War One, but especially in India, given a number of different changes in publication houses and circulation of texts, most notably through the Ghadar Party. So a lot of the texts that Bhagat Singh would have access to would have come from California, would have been collected by the Ghadar Party and brought back by members or brothers of members or someone like that. And so a lot of the kind of really sort of fringe American philosophy around free love and thinkers like Emma Goldman and there's some really weird stuff happening in the US that doesn't make much sense, but it's kind of exciting to read. He has access to that because they were published as cheap pamphlets that the Ghadar Party had access to that made it back to Punjab. So the other thing that Bhagat Singh shows us is there's this kind of global circulation of ideas and texts in both the kind of intellectual way, but also in a really physical way. He has access to books and thoughts in a way that hadn't kind of previous years hadn't had access to that kind of catalog of political philosophy.
I guess it's like the internet today for them. It's almost like it's almost like he's being like connected to a mainframe of information that he's able to use. No, definitely. Penultimate question, which is, what is the connection even between doubt and anti-colonialism in Bhagat Singh's writing? And I guess this must come back to his atheism in terms of, like, even that conversation of whether God exists or not involves a reason, like an element of doubt, which actually is just going to, like, you're never going to get out of it because you're just going to continue to, you can just keep doubting that, right? So is he almost arguing at this point that there are only some things we can be sure of? Is that kind of where he's going with that?
It may be. I think the way that I read that doubt, that kind of foregrounding of doubt, is Bhagat Singh really trying to position himself as a perpetual novice, as someone who is still in the process of putting together these various thoughts. And so, doubt is another. The assertion of doubt is another way of kind of asserting one's own anti-mastery. I think, for me, at least in the context of the British Raj, mastery and self-mastery were the idioms that the British would recognize as properly then deserving of independence. For someone like Bhagat Singh to say confidently, I don't know. I have these doubts. Is to play a really exciting kind of in my mind, revolutionary game where you kind of rethink mastery as the key piece of anti-colonialism, and you put anti-mastery, you put novice, you put beginner, learner, student. You put these as the categories from which to think a revolutionary world, not the master. Because one doesn't want to replace the British masters with other masters. One wants to abolish mastery altogether. And so I think doubt becomes a really exciting way to get at that question. And I think that's what's exciting about how Bhagat Singh uses doubt in an admittedly very confident way, but how he foregrounds doubt in his own thought.